Adam Schefter. Where do we even start?
Adam Schefter had to go to the ER. The MRI revealed a torn meniscus after he done the gritty.
I got the brace on the knee right here.
You hurt yourself doing the gritty?
They say that no publicity is bad publicity. And while in many ways that is true, Adam Schefter always seems to have made it his mission to push that theory to its limits. The man will do anything, and I mean anything, to keep his name in the news. And while he usually toes the line reasonably well, there is no denying that he missed the mark badly quite a number of times. So today, let's take a look back at the 10 most cringeworthy things that Schefter has done throughout his media career. Starting with his most recent transgression, his brutal, overly contextual tweet about the passing of former Washington quarterback Dwayne Haskins. For anyone who's been living under a rock, the 24-year-old quarterback tragically passed away, and Schefter basically took it upon himself to include a bizarrely placed description of Haskins' early career struggles in his report. Sports fans were quick to point out the errors in his ways. Schefter then spent the rest of the day trending on Twitter, and not exactly in the way that you want to. In fact, it wasn't just the fans letting him have it either. There were a number of NFL players as well as other media members who let him know exactly how they felt about his discretion. And hey, spoiler alert, they were none too happy. Schefter apparently recognized the error in his ways and deleted his tweet. He then replaced it with a new one that highlighted Haskins' success at the collegiate level. And to his credit, he did eventually apologize 2 days later. But why wait 2 days to say anything when this is someone who put up the revised Haskins tweet after 20 minutes of the original one? Well, it's so he could feature the apology on his own weekly podcast, of course.
First, I wanted to address the death of Dwayne Haskins and the tweet that I posted this weekend. It was insensitive, it was a mistake, and I can assure you is not my intention. I wish I could have that tweet back. The focus should have been on Dwayne, who he was as a person, a husband, a friend, and so much more. I wanted to apologize to Dwayne's family, his friends, the players in the National Football League, and offer my condolences to everybody close to Dwayne. And in the way I failed Saturday, I wanted to turn people's attention to make sure that Dwayne is remembered properly.
Good old Shefty. Nothing says heartfelt apology quite like shameless self-promotion.
You haven't changed at all. You're still evil, and when you're trying to be good, you're even more evil.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's taken this long for people to truly get sick of Schefter's stick. He's had quite a few other absolutely cringeworthy moments that he's been rather unapologetic about. I mean, the guy was making violations before it was cool by literally tweeting out defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul's medical records after he was the victim of an explosive 4th of July accident that caused him to get multiple fingers amputated. And as a result, this situation escalated to some pretty serious levels. Pierre-Paul ended up taking Schefter and his company ESPN all the way to court. So hey, leave it to Schefter to dox a guy for having to get his fingers amputated. Then, to make matters worse, he was somewhat defiant in his follow-up interview with Sports Illustrated. He not only downplayed his culpability, he also tried to muddy the waters and further damage Pierre-Paul's reputation by floating the notion that this was also legitimate criminal behavior, saying, "This was a public figure and franchise player involved in a widely speculated accident with potential criminal behavior in which there was a cone of secrecy that surrounded him for 5 days, that not even his own team could crack." So, let me get this straight. People criticize you, and instead of taking a look in the mirror, you decide to float the word criminal out there. Real classy, Adam. Real classy. Now, this isn't the only time that Schefter has put his foot in his mouth and pissed people off by talking inappropriately about a player's injuries. Just ask Lamar Jackson, who, like Pierre-Paul, had his injury situation hijacked by a sports reporter obsessed with staying in the public spotlight. The incident came in the days following a big matchup, and eventual win against the Kansas City Chiefs, in which Jackson put his freakish athleticism on display by flipping into the end zone to celebrate a touchdown. Now, everyone has their own opinions about showboating or whatever you want to call it, but unfortunately, there are a ton of people who watch and cover sports that are determined to take the fun out of it. And Schefter decided to cater to those folks by underhandedly hypothesizing that Jackson missed practice due to hip soreness that was caused by the flip, and looked incredibly dumb when it was ultimately revealed that Jackson actually missed practice due to a stomach bug. But I guess that's what happens when you care so much about likes, retweets, and engagement rather than sticking to the pure facts. Yes, instead, he seems hell-bent on continuing to drop the ball in embarrassing fashion. Instances like when he claimed to have the Dez video. Now, back in 2015, coincidentally during the offseason when Dez Bryant's contract was a hot topic of discussion, rumors began to circulate that there was a tape going around in which the former Dallas Cowboys star receiver got into a physical altercation with a woman in the parking lot of a Walmart. Schefter poured gasoline on the fire with his comments, saying on ESPN's Mike and Mike, "The fact of the matter is, yes, we worked on this story for an awful long time. We never felt comfortable going with the information that we had about an alleged video. It may be out there, it may not be out there. What's on it, what's not on it, we've known about it for months. We've never felt comfortable enough to go ahead and run with anything pertaining to that. So here's a novel idea. If you don't feel comfortable with the information that you have, how about instead of intensely speculating and damaging Bryant's reputation, you either get the facts straight or drop the whole story entirely?" Unfortunately, it always feels like Schefter is carrying water for someone that gives him information. In this case, it was potentially on behalf of the Cowboys ownership, who could have been trying to drive Bryant's price tag down. But believe me, there is always some other party behind the scenes shaping the narrative with Schefter. Either a team exec, a player, an agent. And this was essentially proven when emails were leaked from the NFL's investigation into the then Washington football team. In one of the emails to Washington's president, Bruce Allen, Schefter said, "Please let me know if you see anything that should be added, changed, tweaked." Schefter wrote, "Thanks, Mr. Editor, for that and the trust. Plan to file this to ESPN about 6 a.m. Right. Because that's how journalism is supposed to work. You're supposed to let the topic of the article edit your work. The man will do absolutely anything to get a scoop, no matter what it does to the individuals involved or how bad it makes them look to sports fans."
There are few things in life more satisfying than getting a big story. It's like a drug. You become addicted to it.
And what makes it all the more serious is that he continues to do this at the intersection of sports and legal matters. Like when he went and ran with a story about Dalvin Cook being allegedly abused and extorted by a former girlfriend. And he went into some pretty extreme detail, going as far as to describe how she illegally entered and maced Cook. And the only problem? Well, he took that information from Cooks' agent, Zach Hiller, published it, and never even thought to reach out to Cooks' ex. The day after Schefter tweeted this, the woman in question, Gracelyn Trimble, who just so happens to be a U.S. military sergeant, filed a lawsuit against Cook, which included graphic depictions of violence. She also included photos showing facial wounds. So maybe Schefter would have been wise to walk instead of run here, especially considering it is such a sensitive issue. Now, this isn't the only time that Schefter stepped in it on something regarding an NFL star's treatment of women. The incident with Deshaun Watson is another great example of Schefter simply not getting it. Watson, who missed the entirety of the 2021 NFL season while under investigation for numerous sexual misconduct allegations, had just been cleared by a grand jury of any criminal complaints. And for some reason, Schefter decided again to make a wildly unnecessary leap in logic that made everyone who read the tweet cringe. there was no reason for Adam to even think about putting the word truth in this tweet. There is just so much gray area in these sorts of cases, and getting criminal charges requires a pretty high degree of proof. Schefter, again, apologized with an, in my opinion, half-hearted tweet that, in the light of his continued transgressions, seems much more like a checkbox exercise than anything else. He's just a man utterly obsessed with the limelight.
Me.
And many times, it's just pure speculation on a lead that he gets from an NFL insider. Like it was with the whole Condoleezza Rice situation, when he decided to run a ridiculous story about the former Secretary of State being interested in the Cleveland Browns head coaching job. Come on, you can't possibly convince me that Schefter believed this.
I hope
I was wondering whether you'd remember that.
I hope you remember your lie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was maybe the most preposterous breaking news story of my lifetime.
He just knew that the tweet would go viral and get his name out there in the news again. That was far and away his top priority. Unsurprisingly, Rice downplayed the rumor shortly after, putting egg on Schefter's face once again. And to me, this all sort of boils down to Schefter just not getting it. Like when Schefter delivered this painfully uncomfortable joke about the 2020 MLB season being delayed during the early fear-stoked stages of the pandemic. Man, good one, Adam. It's not like people weren't terrified and upset enough as it was. Now, this painful lack of self-awareness kind of reminds me of another recent faux pas when he first spoiled the widely recognized GOAT Tom Brady's retirement. This situation became an absolute mess because of Schefter. At first, he tweets out that Brady is retiring. Then he tweets a statement from Brady's agent, Don Yee, that this is still speculative. And after Brady himself said he was retiring, perhaps because Schefter sort of forced Brady into a public decision, the egotistical journalist decided to take a misguided victory lap, liking a bunch of tweets mocking his first walk back of the announcement, which made it all the more embarrassing for Schefter when Brady eventually decided to return to the NFL a few weeks later. Maybe if Schefter didn't essentially force his hand into a public decision, we could have avoided the entire flip-flopping narrative altogether. And Schefter could have avoided yet another of his extremely cringeworthy moments. But which Adam Schefter moment do you think was the most cringeworthy? Did we miss anything? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.